The Spark. Let me tell you a story not just about a monster, but about a man who refused to accept the limits of being human. Victor Frankenstein was brilliant in the way that makes people uncomfortable, not just intelligent, but relentless. The kind of mind that doesn't stop at answers, it keeps digging until it finds something forbidden. While others studied the world to understand it, Victor studied it to conquer it. Life and death became his obsession, not as mysteries to respect, but as problems to solve. Nights passed without sleep, days blurred into experiments. The boundary between brilliance and madness quietly dissolved. And somewhere in that darkness, Victor asked the question that would change everything. What if death is not the end? What if life is something we can manufacture, assemble, command? It didn't feel evil to him. It felt like progress, like destiny, like standing at the edge of something no human had ever dared to reach before, and stepping forward anyway. The creation. The night it happened, the sky seemed to rebel. Lightning tore through the darkness, illuminating the room in violent flashes. Thunder didn't just echo, it roared, as if the world itself objected to what was about to occur. Victor stood over the table, heart pounding, hands trembling, despite years of preparation. Before him lay the result of his obsession. A body assembled piece by piece, chosen, stitched, forced into shape. This was the moment he had sacrificed everything for, the moment he believed would define him as something greater than human. And then it happened. A twitch, a breath, eyes opening where there had been none. Life surged into stillness, but triumph lasted less than a second, because what looked back at him was not a masterpiece. It was wrong. The proportions, the skin, the unnatural stillness beneath movement, it all collapsed his dream instantly. This was not creation, this was distortion, and instead of pride, Victor felt something colder, fear, deep, immediate, undeniable fear, the abandonment. Victor did not celebrate, he did not speak, he did not guide what he had brought into the world. He fled, just like that. In a single moment, the creator became a coward, and behind him, something newly alive sat alone in silence. Imagine that first moment of awareness, to open your eyes and see a world you don't understand, to feel sensations with no context, no language, no meaning, to reach out, not knowing what reaching even is, and find nothing waiting for you, no voice, no warmth, no explanation. The creature did not know it was unwanted, not yet. It only knew absence, and that absence became its first teacher. It wandered, confused and fragile, drawn toward life, but met with terror. Every face twisted in fear, every attempt at connection met with rejection. Slowly, painfully, it began to learn what it was, not through kindness, but through the reactions of others. And those reactions carved something deep into it. You do not belong. The first lessons. Hidden from the world, the creature became a silent observer. It found shelter near a small family and watched them from the shadows. They had so little, yet what they had felt, infinite. They spoke to each other with care, they shared burdens, they comforted one another. The creature didn't understand at first, but it watched, and slowly it learned. Words began to form meaning, sounds became language, emotions began to take shape. It saw sadness, joy, love. And for the first time, it felt something beyond confusion. It felt longing. Quietly, it tried to help them, gathering wood, reducing their burdens in ways they would never notice. It didn't want praise, it didn't want recognition, it wanted connection, to be part of something. And in those quiet moments, unseen and unacknowledged, the creature was not a monster. It was something deeply human, a being learning how to love without ever having been loved in return. The breaking point. Hope is a fragile thing. It grows quietly, almost invisibly, until one moment decides whether it survives or shatters. The creature chose to reveal itself to the only one who might accept it, the blind father. Without sight, there could be no judgment, no immediate fear, and for a brief, extraordinary moment it worked. The old man listened. He spoke with kindness, he responded without horror. The creature felt something it had never felt before. Acceptance. But that moment didn't last. The others returned. They saw what the father could not. An instinct took over. Fear, violence, rejection, louder and harsher than ever before. They didn't hear its words. They didn't see its effort. They saw only its form. And in seconds, everything the creature had built inside itself collapsed. Not just hope, but trust. Something fundamental broke, and in its place, something darker began to grow. Not because it was chosen, but because it was learned. The birth of the monster. No one is born understanding cruelty. It is taught, slowly, repeatedly, inevitably. The creature had learned language, emotion, and kindness, but now it learned something else. It learned that the world would never see beyond its surface, that no matter how gently it spoke or how carefully it acted, it would always be met with fear. And fear turns people into something dangerous. It isolates, it hardens, it reshapes. The creature did not wake up one day and decide to become a monster. It arrived there step by step, pushed by every rejection, every scream, every blow. And eventually, all that pain needed somewhere to go. So it turned toward the one being responsible for its existence, Victor, the creator who gave it life and then abandoned it to suffer alone. And in that shift, something irreversible happened. The creature stopped asking to be accepted and started demanding to be acknowledged. Revenge. When the creature finally confronted Victor, it did not come as a mindless beast. It came as something far more unsettling. Articulate, aware, and deeply wounded. It spoke not just with anger, but with clarity. It told its story. The loneliness, the attempts at kindness, the repeated rejection. It laid out its suffering with a calm that made it impossible to ignore. And then it made its demand. Not for power, not for destruction, for companionship. Create another like me, it said. Someone who would not fear me. Someone who would not turn away. It was a simple request, but one filled with enormous consequence. Victor saw the truth in it. He saw his responsibility, but he also saw the risk. What if he doubled the mistake? What if he unleashed something worse? And so he hesitated, caught between guilt and fear, between obligation and consequence. And in that hesitation, the fragile chance for redemption began to slip away. The second creation. Victor tried to fix what he had done, but this time the fire was gone. There was no excitement, no ambition, only dread. Every movement felt heavier, every decision felt irreversible. He wasn't chasing greatness anymore. He was trying to contain disaster. As he worked, doubt grew louder. What if this new being rejected the first? What if they multiplied? What if he created something beyond control? And in one decisive moment, fear won. Victor destroyed the second creation before it could live. It was an act of caution, but also an act of betrayal. Because the creature saw everything. It watched hope being built and then torn apart, not by fate, by choice. And in that moment, whatever remained of its trust vanished completely. What replaced it was not just anger, but certainty. If it could not have companionship, then Victor would have none either. The promise. The creature did not lash out immediately. It didn't attack in blind rage. Instead, it delivered something far more terrifying. A promise. Calm, controlled, precise. I will be with you on your wedding night. And then it disappeared. Victor understood the threat, but misunderstood the target. He believed the creature was coming for him, that he would be the one to pay the price. And so he prepared, watched, waited. Fear stretched every moment thin. But revenge is rarely so simple. Because true suffering isn't always about taking a life. Sometimes it's about taking what someone loves most. And when the moment finally came, it wasn't Victor who was taken. It was Elizabeth, his bride, his future, his hope, gone in an instant, and with her any illusion that this could end without total devastation. The end. Victor's pursuit became absolute, no longer driven by ambition or fear, but by loss. He chased the creature across frozen landscapes, across emptiness itself, driven by a need not just to destroy it, but to erase his own mistake. But obsession consumes. It strips away everything until nothing remains but the chase. And eventually, Victor's body gave out, alone, broken, finished, and then the creature returned. Not in triumph, but in reflection. It looked at the man who made it, the closest thing it ever had to a connection, and it felt something unexpected. Not victory, not satisfaction, grief. Because even in hatred, there had been a bond. And now, that bond was gone. I am miserable, it said. And for the first time, there was no one left to blame. Only silence, only consequence. Only the end of a story that never had to unfold this way.